For the last 200,000 years, groups of men have banded together as a means of survival and for the purpose of moving civilization forward. Men built great cities, advanced modern technology, and created economic systems that still prevail today. Unfortunately, those advancements in economic stability have created widespread levels of comfort that even the most wealthy kings in history didn't enjoy. With no great purpose or mission, most men today have accepted this comfort and in turn have become soft, weak, feminized versions of their past ancestors. These men are content with spending their days at jobs they dislike, spending time with people they can hardly tolerate, and the most fulfilling thing in their lives is watching their favorite sports teams or getting lost in their favorite video game. The men of the Unplugged Brotherhood demand more from themselves and, more importantly, from each other. Through mentally and physically challenging in-person retreats and events, these men have discovered that growth only happens when you are willing to show up, force yourself out of your comfort zone, and above all, do the work. Don't waste another day squandering your potential to be the man you were meant to be. Reject comfort, let go of people that are holding you back, and seize the opportunity to join a true brotherhood that will challenge you to become the best version of yourself.
All right, guys, welcome to the 51st installment of Chopping It Up. We got a great panel and a great set of topics for you guys tonight. How's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good.
What shall we kick it off with tonight?
You're the maestro.
Let's do that gal that's pulled up that billboard. What was it, Mary Lisa?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
God help us.
Yeah, I didn't pull it up on the screen yet. I know that Al was sort of doing a little research on it. MaryLisa.com. All right, let's have a conversation about MaryLisa.com. Man, women are getting desperate. It is a state of affairs. Oh, hang on. Site can't load. Why isn't it loading here on this computer? Let's try again. No. Moff, see if you can load it on your end. It's not loading on my end for some reason. Don't tell me the site went down.
It's up on my end.
You got it up?
Yep.
Oh, no. And it came back up. I had to refresh for some reason. I guess these cookies or whatever. All right. Well, we got a gal here that's taking out a billboard. And I mean, this isn't the first time that I've seen this. We've seen women that have married each other, or married themselves. You know, if I can put it that way. We've seen women that have married their dogs. We've seen women throw divorce parties. But this is new. This is a gal in the Bay Area, and she took out a billboard. See if we can find the billboard here because she's standing in front of it in one of the images. Let's see here.
If you go to the videos, it's one of the thumbnails, I think.
Yeah, is it one of the thumbnails on the videos? Well, let's start with fast facts. So Lisa took out a website called MaryLisa.com, and she's looking to find a husband. She's 41 years old, 5.5 feet tall, 130 pounds. She's got a 36 C cup, lives in San Mateo, California. It's like close to the tech hub almost, I think. Santa Clara University alumni, currently self-employed. She runs I think it's an antique fashion store, was it? Or a clothing store?
Yeah, it was like an antique shop.
Antique, yeah. She's a devout Democrat liberal, also seeking a devout Democrat liberal, by the way. Non-practicing Catholic, not religious, enjoys wine and occasional cocktails, no tobacco, marijuana, or drugs. Great sense of humor, loves going out and doing things. San Francisco Giants fan, owns a convertible. That's real important, guys. You know, she's a convertible owner. Loves cats, artistic and creative. Has not had any cosmetic procedures. She's all natty. Doesn't look like she has any tattoos either. High energy, healthy, active lifestyle. Never married, no kids. Wants marriage and kids within the next 2 to 3 years. By the way, she's not 41. She's 42, according to her video. But she's 42 years old and she wants to have a kid or a family, not a kid, but wants to have a family with the right man in the next 2 to 3 years. Which one of you boys is going to step up? Spence?
I got to do my part. I gotta ruin her life. Just go in there and just wreck it. Just go in there and wreck it for her. Hey, I've been in the military.
Take, boys?
So
what do you think about
I have
stuff
no
like
standards.
this?
Well, if you go to what she's looking for, that also should shed some light on
who Lisa is looking for. Okay, she's got
her
a list of
non-negotiables.
Must be on board with a monogamous relationship and dating with the intent of marriage. Must be all right with the time frame of marriage, start family within the next 2 to 3 years. She'll be 45. I don't know too many women that have healthy kids at 45.
Very few.
Got to be college educated. Al, do you have a college education?
Yeah, I got a bachelor's.
All right. Lifestyle. Are you healthy? Are you generally healthy? No Mary J, no tobacco, no psychedelics, or recreational drug use with good hygiene. Do you shower every day?
Oh,
no.
Only on the weekends. Only on the weekends.
You're out.
Yeah,
if you guys aren't showering, then you're out. You got politics. It says must be a Democrat or liberal or left-leaning politically. I mean, you basically eliminate a large chunk of handsome go-getter guys when you make that statement, though, unfortunately. But
well, this is what's funny, right? You put all of these things in there, right? Like fit, looking for someone who's not particularly religious, no criminal record. Like all of this is fine until you add Democrat, right? Because there's no man that she's interested in.
Correct.
Who meets this stuff that is a fucking liberal.
This is funny over here. It says that preferences would include 35 to 45. I mean, she's 42, but she's asking for a younger guy. And these chicks, right? Family, never married, no kids. What's that?
She needs whatever help she can get with the sperm health,
Well, I mean, I guess that excludes me because I'm not 35 to 45. So unfortunately, it's not going to happen for her with me. But appearance, generally speaking, Lisa's attracted to more clean-cut looking men, slim to medium build, no or minimal tattoos, piercings. She has no height requirements. Short kings. You're 5 foot tall. You can apply for some Lisa. There she is, right there. So, what do you think, guys? Is this a decent sexual strategy to sort of find what it is that you're looking for?
Well, there's a little more background on this that I went and dug up. So apparently, I mean, and she wrote this in the, it's like, why did I create this website? And it's just a story we've heard before 1,000 times, and we tell women they need to be careful and not to end up like this woman. She avoided dating seriously in her 20s and 30s because she chose to prioritize her career, self-development. She pushed off dating. She apparently got into a very serious relationship, a engagement in her late 30s, but after 4 years, her, I guess, fiance or husband to be had a terminal illness and passed away, which is unfortunate. And then she jumped into another relationship that went about a year. And apparently she ended that because he was quote unquote unwilling to commit. And then if you go to, the testimonials page, she essentially just asked some of her girlfriends to anonymously submit reviews of her. And it's all just like, oh, she's such a bubbly personality. And it's just these, but this is just what happens when people are not telling women the truth. That if you're not careful, you're going to end up like this woman who is on the wrong side of 40, who is on the wrong side of being able to have kids, who has incredibly high standards. She's a Silicon Valley product. And again, there's what I noticed particularly about all of these things on this site. It's just about her selling herself, but only like her activities and the music she listens to and food and drink and all this kind of stuff. Like, look how long the list is for movies and TV. This woman it's like she never leaves the couch. So there's nothing on here about culinary skills. There's nothing in here about the value she would offer to a man's life. There's nothing in here that shows that this woman or a lot of these women have any idea what men really want in relationships, especially if she's a high-powered entrepreneur or this woman that lives in the Silicon Valley area. And for the most part, guys that come from Silicon Valley and San Francisco, they're dorks. Like, they're not high testosterone guys that are out crushing it. They're Mark Zuckerberg, pocket protector looking motherfuckers that, are building startups and this kind of thing, which is all fine, well and good. But this is just a tale as old as time. Like, we could absolutely help this woman, but she wouldn't listen, and she already didn't listen. So this is, in a way, like, it's sad, but also this is the reality when women are being pushed into the workforce and they're drinking the feminist Kool-Aid, and more power to her. But this strikes me as a woman who's never had somebody sit her down and tell her the truth about her choices in life. And now she's throwing up a Hail Mary, trying to, figure it out at 42 years old.
I don't know what it costs to get a billboard in the Bay Area right on the highway.
That's how this originally started. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. So she's got this video over here. Oh, well, you can see the billboard in the background just above this 18-wheeler. So this is the billboard that she's taken out. I looked into it about 12 years ago when I was kind of testing some different marketing strategies for my debt business. And I think it was about 18 grand for a month. And you were getting a lot of rotation, like a lot of screen time for traffic. Although they do have a pretty impressive media package that tells you how much traffic goes by and, the demographics of your traffic and all this sort of stuff. But she could have spent as much as 18 grand on that billboard ad, right? Like, it's one of those digital screens, kind of like a Jumbotron that kind of rotates through different ads. So people driving down the highway are going to see at some point a marylisa.com ad with a picture of her face saying, give it a try. But that's a lot of coin to drop on advertisement. But I guess, desperate times call for desperate measures for women, and they're willing to do stuff like that at that point.
It's funny too, because she has multiple. It's not just one. It was like four, if I'm not mistaken, like 4 or 5 of them on that whole highway. So yeah, so
4 or 5.
Had that up. Yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5. I can't remember. She had like a little list of like spots where they were along that highway.
Wow. I mean, best of luck to Lisa in finding what it is she's looking for. So if you're a Democrat that lives a fairly healthy lifestyle, she's she's out there looking for you. If you're between the ages of 35, 45, you can you can hit her up and go ahead and knock her up right away. She's got baby rabies. She's looking to start a family at the ripe old age of 45. Anyway, let me grab the super chat over here. What's Claudia got? Chess update. Rich Cooper, please read. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Article link below. I'm not sure what that is, Claudia. Did you guys see a link for something?
No, you can't put links in the chat if you're not like a member, if you're not like an admin. So it's trying to reduce on spam. So I don't know what she's putting in there, but it didn't show up.
It probably got lost somewhere. If you want to DM it to me on like Twitter or Instagram, it'll show up in my inbox at some point. Moff, I know that you got a testimonial from one of the Algonquin guys. You wanna deal with that?
Yeah, so I'll read this out. So, you guys have seen now the opening reel. We have a lot of that footage from the Algonquin trip. This is a trip that we do every year. We're planning our 3rd one as we speak. But I got a really cool DM from one of our members today in the Brotherhood. And this is a guy who is in Australia. So he flew literally 24 hours around the world to attend this trip, which showed a huge commitment, a huge trust in us that we were going to provide a good experience. Because I told him, like, if you're going to come to one trip, come to Algonquin. If you're going to come to one thing, make it worth your while. And then I think he did some other travel after that down to South America. But I'll read around some of the less important parts. But this is just, I love getting these messages, man, because this just reinforces what we do as a tribe and a brotherhood, and the whole reason why we do this. So just want to take an opportunity to say a big thank you for putting together the Algonquin trip. I took a lot away from the experience. Even though I know I was one of the quieter ones on the trip, I spent a lot of time just listening and absorbing as much information as possible from some absolute weapons. The trip showed me how much time I spend in my head and how much I'm missing out on the present moment. Another big thing I took away was needing to continue to surround myself with a community that is going in the same direction that I want to pursue. As soon as I came back from Canada and South America, it was time to attack the game plan. I hit the deck running. One of the first things I did was contact Bensei, who is our sort of resident hormone optimization expert who's gotten a ton of great results for, guys in the Brotherhood and his clients. Of course, I wanted to improve my physique, but I was also interested in the cognitive function side of things. And to me, this was just as important. I've always spent a lot of time in my head and never been as productive as I would have liked, struggling with tedious tasks, retaining information, and staying focused, especially for mundane tasks. I zoned in and out of classroom settings, and I suck at paperwork, still do. Through supplementation, nutrition, diet, and a workout schedule, it's been the best I have moved, felt, and operated in my entire life. It's also the most productive I've ever been. Because I've taken more action, it's eliminated a lot of questions I would have had previously. Now I just focus on extracting the lessons from a failure, flaw, or an imperfection and go at it again. The beautiful thing about taking action is it's forced me to be more present in the moment, which has been extremely enjoyable and rewarding. I can feel the momentum pushing me in the right direction, which just adds fuel to the fire. Over the past 4 months, I've been putting myself in rooms with people that are much more intelligent, who've got the results that I'm going for. I've gone to an investing conference in real estate mastery, where instead of paying off my mortgage in 9 years, which was my original plan, I'm now looking at paying off the house in 3 years and using the equity of the property to do a waterfall strategy of purchasing 2 or 3 properties, which will help pay off my loan and give me passive income. I've also changed roles in my job where the learning is exponential, and I'm really enjoying learning the process for people brighter than me. Also, the photography course that I've been putting off for 5 months, or he created a photography course that I had been putting off for 5 months before Algonquin, is now 90% completed. The butterfly effect is truly amazing, and all of the above is due to the Algonquin trip. I wouldn't be where I currently am without taking that 24-hour flight over. I found that if I'm able to put myself in rooms with experts and amazing guys in the Brotherhood, they can increase my growth rapidly. I've been in the gym for 4 to 5 years trying to learn things by myself, and I found that a lot of things that I were doing were incorrect or not the most productive way to do it. Now I'm trying to reduce the amount of time, effort, and energy I put into research, while I know there are people out there that have been there, done it, and have gotten the results to show for it. The best investment I can do is continuing to invest in myself, find experts that have gotten the results, and then extract the lessons from them and apply it to my situation. It reduces the lag factor, and the growth has been exponential. The last thing is I've never had a social media presence until joining this group, and knowing how much Spencer and Eaton talk about needing to improve in that area, listening to them talk about this gave me massive pause. There was a huge amount of tension, friction, and resistance, but I've learned over my journey, if there is resistance, use that as your true North Star and start heading in that direction. Thanks again. So
that's awesome.
It's a great testimonial. It leans into everything that we talk about. So many guys out there are getting bogged down in the minute details, are getting lost in the sauce, or bogged down in the BS is what I like to call it, where taking massive action solves like 99% of your problems. Even if you make what's perceived as the incorrect call, maybe to start, you'll learn that soon enough, and then you can always go back and pivot the other direction. And that's not wasted time. You just learn lessons and you find ways to apply them to the future. If you're at a crossroads or you have 4 directions you can go, the worst thing you can do is sit in the middle and not pick any of them. You pick one, it doesn't work. Now you cross it off. Now you have 3. Another one doesn't work. Now there's only 2. So this is just a testament, man. Like, we've got guys that are putting in the work. They're taking massive action, and you see the proof in the pudding. Like, the guys that are doing the work, the guys that are taking action are having more results than they ever did in the last 4 or 5 years before ever joining our group. So just a testament to the work that we're doing in the Brotherhood.
Yeah, man, that whole idea about taking you guys up to Algonquin, I wasn't 100% sure that it was going to be received. Remember the first time we went up, I was like, this is like just one of those places that when it gets in your blood, it sort of gets in your blood, and you kind of have a party that you're connected to the land in that sense. And for somebody to fly from basically the furthest point on the planet, basically the opposite side of the world, to come to Canada and then drive 3 or 4 hours to go up to this provincial park for a 4-day weekend and do hard work. It wasn't a vacation. You had to collect. I mean, the only thing we didn't have to do was cook. Thankfully we had a pretty good chef crew that, came along with CK, but, set up your tent, take it down, set up the saunas, take them down, canoe, portage, haul all the shit, get wood.
He came ready.
People, what's that?
Oh yeah.
He came ready. He was my canoe partner as well. So
yeah,
it's super good to see that it hit him this hard.
Especially him being so quiet, because he really was a super quiet guy. And like, you worry about those guys that are still kind of introverted. And it's like, man, like, you really want to put on a good show and to put on a good experience, because it's like, it's not like guys that live there that can just drive 2 hours from their backyard. I mean, this guy got on like 2 or 3 different planes. I mean, a full day's worth of traveling, multiple days, really. And yeah, man, that's just, it jacks me up, man. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. If you guys want to get involved and join the community, you just start at the website. Just go to RichCooper.ca and take a look at the communities and get started there. We're planning 2 trips next year to Algonquin, one in the spring and one in the fall. I'll definitely be on the fall trip 100%, because fall colors and warm weather and the warmer lakes and all that sort of stuff is kind of a different time of year. Yeah, we got more plans for more excursions with you guys in different ways throughout that park.
Got a full calendar, man. It's going to be a hell of a year.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, you want to do a market update? We had a pretty sick day on the crypto markets. You know, I think we hit an all-time high with Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I saw about 125 here at some point. Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
I was trying to share a screen. I couldn't unmute.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
you can share your screen now. Go ahead.
No, it was a killer day, and we're hitting all-time highs every couple of days at this point. So it appears that there was a consolidation where Bitcoin just hung out where it was, I want to say, for a couple of months. But I'm going to open it up on the chart so I don't have to guess here. But yeah, so Bitcoin made an all-time high back in, July, and then it tried to reclaim that and briefly did back in August, and that was up at 125,000. And then it went sideways up until...
You got to put up on the screen, Nick.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you got to go add to screen.
Actually, yeah, I think somebody else does. I don't have the option to do that. Yeah. We'll go back to it. So after those all-time highs in the summer, we just saw it again a couple of days ago, and it took a long time. It took a couple of months, August all the way up until, Saturday. So it pierced 125 up to 126, and then we saw it again today, and it just really it can't be stopped. If you look at the algos, all that gobbledygook at the bottom of the screen, and if you look at the whole picture of it, there are some serious vulnerabilities, and yet price continues to overcome those, which is a sign of extraordinary strength, which tells me that we're probably going to see higher prices outside of some kind of surprise. And on last week's show, we talked about how September for Bitcoin tends to be a weaker month, and certainly wasn't that great, although really started to come up towards the end of the month. But September peaked out at 117 and bottomed at 108. And I told everybody in the Unplugged Brotherhood and SOE that I thought that would be the bottom, and then it was going to blast off. And I put out a video saying Bitcoin blast off, and it was probably while it was still at about 109, and that we probably would see all-time highs. I was correct on that one. I'm correct on, well, let's just say I'm more often correct than I'm not, and that's what matters in trading. No one gets them all right, but in this case, I do expect higher prices. If you look a little bit closer, I'm going to zoom in briefly, and you see how Bitcoin keeps making these all-time highs. And then what it does is it comes back down, all-time highs, comes back down. I think we're going to see, anything can happen. It could just do a lot of things. But on the balance of probabilities, it's either going to come down to about, I'd say 124.5, where it kind of is right now, more or less, but a little bit lower, and then bounce up because price doesn't want to go in that area because there's no liquidity, or it's going to run down most likely to 123.9 and go back up. Now, if we do see an extended pullback, which is healthy, I like to see extended pullbacks as long as it doesn't break key supports. A move back to 118 or even 114, there's a lot of liquidations on there. And without explaining what that means, it has to do with the futures market and where people's trades get liquidated. Price likes to go there. So if price went down to like 118 or 114, I would be nonplussed. I would still be bullish, depending on what the charts say, but I'm pretty sure I even know what the charts would, the algos would look like at that time. So the two scenarios I see for a pullback are not much. pretty much where it is, to bounce up, maybe a little bit lower down towards 123 and 124, and then move back up to new highs. Or you might see it kind of quiet down, go to the teens, and then come back up. But I don't think the bull market is over just yet. My sweet spot, as I say on these shows, is about 145,000. But there's nothing truly stopping Bitcoin from going up past 200,000.
Do you think that the altcoin market's going to move with the same vigor as Bitcoin right now, or is that going to follow after Bitcoin?
Well, what seems to be happening is that the larger coins are moving with Bitcoin, and then you'll have these odd coins like Aster and some kind of new players coming in, and they'll move with more volatility than Bitcoin. But what I've seen in this cycle, I've been through 3 of these bull cycles and bear cycles.
On stage for you.
Oh, no worries. What I've seen with each cycle is that the altcoin market, like your general altcoins, it just gets more convoluted. It gets bigger. There's a lot less places for money to go, or a lot more places for money to go. So the demand for altcoins is much lower because the supply is so high. I think you're going to find some runners. I think the general market is not going to do like it did in 2021, and certainly not like it did in 2017. But I do think that if Bitcoin finds a stasis, and it always does, during the stasis where the market is convinced that the all-time high is met, the next few days or the next few weeks, we'll probably see a lot of moves in some coins. You'll see a lot of pumping going on. And this is what's happened each time.
All right. Well, I'm happy with that.
And not to mention, gold's at pretty much 4,000. Silver's almost to $50. You got the NASDAQ making all-time highs. We're in an environment where markets are going up. And without talking much more about it, I would say that money's rushing to the U.S. because the fear of war is on the horizon.
Are we still going to get into a war with Iran? Is that the direction you guys think is happening?
I think Alan probably better place to answer that. But from what I'm seeing, it seems quite possible that Israel wants to do something. And of course, if Israel goes in hard enough, then we will get pulled in. But that's my look. Like I said, Alan probably better answer that.
It'd be more of a conflict. So with Iran, it would be more of a conflict, kind of like how we did the bombing thing. And so that way it limits, because if you do active war, you got to get with Congress. Congress has to approve all that stuff. So what they'll do is they'll call it a conflict or something like that, to make sure Iran doesn't get any nuclear weapons. That's going to always be the cover story but Israel is going to try to pull the U.S. into these conflicts. It's just typically what Israel does. It always tries to pull the U.S. in, say, hey, look, we accidentally started this fight. Send us some money so then we can buy your weapons and ship them back out there. And that's
not a scam at all.
Yeah. And so like a lot of our air defense, like our Patriot battery systems and stuff like that, we sell, Congress funds, Israel sends them like $1 billion package. And then they're like, okay, now we can buy all, Raytheon and all their defense weapons, and we can buy that from the U.S. So it's kind of like, yeah. And then so they're like, okay, we need more missiles and bombs so that way we can go bomb Iran. And it'll kind of just keep playing out. And then the Russia side, Russia's getting a little bit more aggressive. So you're having Russian jets flying to UN space area or UN airspace, stuff like that. Russia's gas market is taking a big hit because Ukraine went to bombing a lot of their enrichment sites, so like where they create fuel and stuff. So Russia's having $4 a gallon gas, some places where there's mile-long lines and stuff like that. And if you're in Russia and you're paying $4 a gas, that's like $20 a gallon of gas here in the U.S. Something around there. That'd be the equivalent, because they don't make the same money as the U.S. people do. So that can be a problem. And we both know that Russia is pretty much a giant gas station.
Nuts. All right. Let's see here. I got queued up some bookmarks. So Brian Atlas from the Whatever podcast went on a bit of a tear this past week, and went looking at all of Dan Bilzerian's photographs and tags on them. For example, this one over here. I think the strategy when he was, the big Playboy dude on social media at that time, he's kind of moved on from that lifestyle now. was the girls would get a tag on his profile, and he's got millions of follows and, you know, social proof, right? You know, you get a lot of amplification, and, you know, the girls will do just about anything. So you got a couple of gals over here, one with Dan, one with the other dude, and this is her on the today's timeline. Because all you got to do is hit the tag, right? Andrea Gall, you hit the tag, it takes you over to the person's Instagram profile, Andrea Gall, and here she is with her baby. And you know, he went through a whole bunch of these. You know, another gal over here. Which one was this? Erica Matori. This girl over here. You know, there's her wedding photograph, and here she is on Dan's lap. And it was one after the other, right? This one over here, Sama Burney, all pregnant, sitting on this guy on the beach in her little photo shoot. And there she is over there, right beside Dan in a robe, probably. I mean, he smashes most of these girls, right? I don't know if it's all of them, but if you've listened to him in interviews, you know, he basically talks openly about his lifestyle at that point in time. And, you know, that's just what he did. Official Morgan Britt with a lip on her butt cheek. Now all wifed up with a baby with this guy over here. And it's like, you know, women go through these distinct phases. You know, it's like, you know, party girl, and then all of a sudden, you know, she's hanging out, and these girls are all married and they got kids, or, you know, they've changed their tone. You know, you got Tits McGee over here on Bilzerian shoulder, and here she is all babied up with this bunhead guy over here. It's just par for the course. That's the way these situations go. Another one over here, Andrea Gall, same one, pregnant picture with the dude again. I don't know, guys. I mean, question for you, I guess, on the panel is, if you saw that the girl that you were looking at inviting into your life on a serious basis spent a good deal of her life partying and, you know, sharing her body nonchalantly with a bunch of dudes, how would you take that?
Out. It's not even a question. It's just like, no, I'm good. That's exactly how it'd be. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, not interested.
Spence, you gonna wife her up and put some babies in her?
Oh God, sorry, I was muted. God, no. Especially not with someone from, like, who's on Dan Bilzerian's Instagram. I've heard way too many stories of parties at his house that are just insane.
TC?
Hey, man. As long as she's cool being shared, as long as she gets along with the other women, I don't think it's the biggest deal. Now, like, if you're going to marry her and that's the only woman you're with and the only woman you're going to have kids with, massive L. Galactic fucking L.
Galactic. What about you, Mark?
Terrible. Just fucking
we gotta hear more about TC's plan, because I want the world to know how this is going to turn out for. Listen, man, like, we all know the answer. I know. I don't think we have, but we can't. I mean, look, like, we all know this.
We got time tonight.
Hot girls are always going to land on their feet. Like, good-looking chicks are always going to get wifed up. There's always going to be some guy out there. Like, I think Brian Atlas is a fucking loser for doing this. Like, this is what you're spending your time on. Like, this is what you're clowning on dudes. Like, and that's fine. I mean, if you're trying to say, like, hey, man, I'm looking out for guys, or I'm trying to say, like, hey, this is probably not something that you should be spending your time on, or relationships and marriages like this are maybe not the best choice, but it's like, dude, this is just red meat, like, loser shit. And it's like, don't you have anything better to do, dude? Like, don't you have any, like, you got all of these followers, you've got all of this influence, and you're using it to be like, oh my God, she's one of Dan Bilzerian's exes. It's like, you're a fucking clown, dude. So, I mean, yes, like, a girl that's going to be on some rich dude's yacht and in his photos and tagged in photos, probably not the best choice for long term, especially when you start thinking about the lifestyle that she was accustomed to, or that she was afforded by being in these photos, or the type of attention and clout. But who knows? But in any case, no, not for me, not something I'd recommend for a lot of guys. But I think, like, if a grown man is taking a vested interest in strangers' relationships and clowning them on a Twitter, he's a massive fucking loser. And I hope he sees this.
DC, you want to drop bombs on the plans? We got time for it tonight.
Man, I mean, where to begin?
Take it from the top. What are the plans for the women in TC's life?
Yeah, I think fundamentally, like, men did not evolve to be monogamous, right? Like, we evolved to spread our seed. We've gotten it very twisted. I think, and I keep getting pulled closer and closer, like, to biblical Christianity as I go down this rabbit hole more.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point, a couple thousand years ago, we had it figured out, and we've just slowly slid into this retardation that we have today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I want 10 plus kids. I think that's my duty essentially as a man. Like, it's irresponsible for me to not have a large legacy like all of the men before me that suffered massively so I could enjoy this existence. Like, I owe it to them to carry the torch, right? You know, what am I going to do? Just like hang out and have a bunch of sex and drink beer and just die, right? Like, what's the point of this shit, right? So I think if you're going to have more than 2 or 3 children, like, it makes sense to have those children with multiple women. I think.
What do you think the count is that you need to
framing.
have 10 kids, 10 healthy kids?
Well, I want like 3 sons that are really able to carry the torch, with one being like able to actually carry my legacy, like my personal brand that I'm building.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, like, maybe I need 5 sons so that I have 3 that like definitely aren't fuck ups, right? So that's like 10 kids on average, and that's the minimum. So I also believe if you do have children with multiple women, and one of the women decides she's no longer down to be on your program and goes and fucks off, I think you just have to let her go. Right? I think like fighting that battle with her that takes time and resources away from your children and your women that are still on your program is an irresponsible thing to do. So it might be that, you know, I try this in the West, and I mean, it's challenging. I'm like a year into kind of screening and vetting women for this, you know, stated purpose with them, right? And it's challenging. So if I have issues with this long term in the West, I'll just leave and go open up shop somewhere else and see if it's better there. So it could be 20 children. Who the fuck knows, right?
How many kids you plan on having per woman?
Like 3-ish.
3-ish?
Now, that being said, I'm going to keep trying until they can't, essentially. Or like if they have a pregnancy that's like very complicated, and then like my child from that pregnancy has a lot of developmental issues or something, right? Then I'll probably stop with her. Like, it's time to stop.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to sister wife them? Like, are they all going to sort of collaborate? Or are you going to put them in their own homes and like visit, you know, like girl 1 on Monday and girl 2 on Wednesday and girl 3 on Friday, and Saturdays, you know, for the boys, and Sundays for, you know, dating or whatever? Like, have you figured out your weekly schedule?
I originally thought the best framework would be that they live separate, but maybe like in the same town or on the same street. The way that I'm structuring my life, though, like I'm working, and this is what women do for me in my life, right? Like, I have them help me in finding healthier food, like, you know, vegetables that aren't covered in bullshit, even though it says it's organic still, right? Like finding beef that's actually grass fed, finding where to get clothing that's made out of natural fibers. So like raising a family with women that buy into these unplugged beliefs you have and are going to help you achieve these goals that you have in your life, right? Like, essentially be your assistants in different ways. It's challenging, I think, to have 3 separate households to have to kind of enlist this across. And the main argument, like, I've talked to a lot of guys in the space, essentially, outside of our community too, that are on a similar path. And a lot of guys have the same kind of thing, like, oh, well, I'm worried they're not going to get along in the same house, right? So it's like a higher interest and a higher compliance type of woman is required to get along in the same house with the other women. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Like it makes you look for a more compliant and more willing woman than like, oh, she says that she's going to be good, but she doesn't want to live with the other women. And she is also kind of hot. I'm like, no. Like, if you're not willing to maybe at least live with the other women, I don't think you're down enough to come on this journey with me.
Did you ever see that Zoom call I did with Casey Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of broke it down. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on my email list. You can just opt in by going to entrepreneursandcars.com/red-flags, and it comes out at some point, like a dozen emails down the road. But he's basically I think he's got 6 wives, and he's got 1 day of the week for himself. So he spends the night with each wife in their own room. They all live together in the same house. They all work. I think most of them work. And they kind of like co-parent the kids. He's got a full schedule, like who cooks dinner when, and who's taking care of meals, and they've got like tasks around the property. I know that he bought some old shipping containers and he had them refurbished for Airbnbs, so some of the wives will take care of, like, they're always busy doing something. And he always portrayed them all as like kind of happy-go-lucky, big smiles, no fighting, like no cat scratching eyes out, sort of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you can pull it off, you can have a bunch of kids and it all works out well, then I tip my hat to the men that can do it. Maybe you're all greater men than I am.
Different.
Maybe you're all built different, because I just don't want to chase.
I will say,
deal with broads on that kind of level, man.
If there's anybody that can pull this off, it's TC. Like, that's what I've maintained from the very beginning.
Yeah, we'll see, though.
There's guys that have maybe said like, oh yeah, like I totally want to do that too. Like maybe, I'm like, you're not that guy, pal. But TC is that guy. Like I'm like, hey man, go for it. I want to see what happens. I hope you keep going. I just want to see what happens. Like I want to, if for nothing else, my own entertainment.
At least a case study.
I've only seen 3 examples of it. So, I've seen Craig, which is Abu American on Twitter. He's American Muslim. He's got a bunch of wives in Germany, so he's been pulling it off under Islam.
This is not this is and we've been talking about that. Like, we've had some conversations behind the scenes about that. Like, if there is some sort of religion, or if there's some sort of mechanism that would act as an adhesive or a glue that would hold this better together. But I don't think we've really been able to find one. I mean, like, obviously you've got Mormonism, but we have a guy that was, I guess, formerly, I don't know if he was full on Mormon, but he comes from like the LDS community. So he kind of understands, and he was just like, like it's not really all it's cracked up to be. So, but I think what's the most interesting, like TC and I talked about this, and I don't want to air too much of our private conversations because it's for the boys, but like when he talks about like, hey man, what really gets me going is compliance. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you care about a girl's physical attractiveness and her appearance, but it's like, this man is screening for compliance. This man is screening for, if she is not 1,000,000,000% on my program, then she's out. Like, that's the only way. And this is quite the antithesis of what most of these guys will do. Like, this whole Bilzerian ex-girlfriend case study is showing how a guy, and most guys and many guys, will make overwhelmingly terrible, poor decisions and poor choices about the women they choose to bring into their life just because they're hot. And with hot comes problems, right? So, I think it's like pioneer times, man. Like, the guy's a visionary. He's like, look, like if she's not 100% on the ship, then she's 100% gone. And like, I think that's how you need to deal with all of your relationships with women in general. And the only people that think it can't be pulled off are people that secretly know they can't do it, or women that want to try to trick you and say, oh, like they never agree to that because, they don't want guys to know the secret. So it's always funny to watch them squirm in the comments and act like it can't happen when it can.
Do you look for compliance plus initiative, or just compliance? Like, compliance would be, babe, can you fetch me a nice drink? Initiative would be her saying something like, TC, have you eaten yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, obviously, situationally, there's a lot of different levels of that, right? Like, if I'm working all day, 18 hours, and I get to like wherever one of my women is residing currently, my place, her place, you know, if I'm meeting up with her somewhere. And like when I walk in, if she notices that I look more tired than normal, it's just normal that she's like, oh, did you have a long day? Do you want me to get the massage oil? Like, I don't even like, that's just normal to me. Like anything else is fucking crazy talk. Like if I get to her place and she's bitching about Becky and running around the house and all this, I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Like clearly your priority is somewhere else. So I'll go where I'm wanted instead.
Pretty good strategy.
So, but yeah, like Moff said, I like plain Janes, average, normal women, you know, like basically no social media, you know, maybe they work at Dollar General, right? They live with their parents still. Maybe they have a girlfriend that's their roommate that they live with. None of this like women that are focused on a fucking career, and like they all need to want to be a mom, right? And women do want to be a mom, and like a lot of these women that I meet, and the ones that I'm dealing with, like when I meet them, they're not like, it's not like I found some magical woman that wants to do this, right? Like I kind of unpack the bullshit she's been fed and she starts understanding, right? Like in the first couple dates with a woman, usually I bring up something about guy friends, and I do it playfully and it's fun, right? And the woman would be on her phone and be like, oh, don't tell me there's some fucking dude in the friend zone that's blowing you up while I've got you out to eat. And she's like, oh yeah, you know, he's just a friend. I'm like, you know, he wants to bang you, right? And she's like, oh, come on. And I'm like, do you think it's appropriate if you want my attention to be like texting a dude that wants to bang you? And like women understand this when you explain it to them, if they're into you, right? So you really do make the women into, like, women are just latching on to what they've been sold anyways. So sell what you're doing better than society selling bullshit. That's all it is, right?
You had this conversation real quick. You had this conversation with a girl like on your first meet, right? You were like, hey, this is the plan, right? Like, I don't know if you want to share that or not. You don't have to. We can move on. But like,
yeah. So basically,
not giving too much away.
I had a really long day, and it was like midnight almost when I went to pick this girl up. And I was basically like, she lived out in the boonies, right? So it was like 20 minutes. It was like 40 minutes for me to go get to her after I'd been working 18, 19 hours that day on various things. And so like 20 minutes out in the boonies to pick her ass up because her car's fucking broken, right? And then we're going to go in town to the sports bar. That's the only place that's open till 1 a.m. And I just like, we'd been talking and it had been very explicit, like over text and stuff. So I just wanted to get to know her and see like what she's like in person, right? It's just a sniff test. And by the time I got to her place, I was like, I don't even care if I have sex with this girl or not tonight. Like, I'm fucking tired. She's fucking average looking, you know, like, and that's one of the reasons that's important too, right? She's not like wowing me with her fucking stunning beauty. So on the way to the sports bar, she was like, so what are you looking for? And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to send it. So actually what I'm looking for is 10 to 15 kids with 3 women all in one house, and everything's normal, and it's not fucking weird and gay like everything else nowadays. And she was like, really? And I was like, yes, fucking really. And it was almost like she didn't believe me. But by the time we got to the place, then she had to hear more, right? It was like almost
captive audience at that point. She can't leave.
Matter. And I was totally prepared. This goes back to having options, right? I was totally prepared that if she said, you're out of your mind, turn the car around, I would have been like, great. I get to go to bed an hour or two earlier tonight. Fuck it. You know, like, weeded it out quicker, right? I actually think, sorry, I'm moving my nicotine pouch around, the addict over here. So I actually think that strategy is not the best. So since then, she's fallen off. She essentially disappeared on me. So I think that's probably not the best strategy. And I mean, I don't want to get too into what I think the best strategy is and kind of my new MO. But I think essentially the TLDR version of what the best strategy is for other guys looking to do something like this is spin her as a plate for like 4 to 6 months, and just don't bring it. Just have fun. You just bring her into your worldview. You know, tell her your plans for the future, whatever, and just don't talk about other women. And if she doesn't bring it up, like she doesn't ask, that's a good sign, right? As soon as she's like, so are you seeing other women? Then you can go into, well, like, would it matter if I was? And if she's like, well, of course, then you know she's not going to be down, right? So more to come on that as I figure out what is the best framework to, because obviously, like, once you have one woman that's down and then you find a second woman that's down, it's like much trickier finding a third one, because the first one you can just essentially have normal, open on your side relationship while you look for number two. And then number two, you have this fucking conversation that's like, by the way, I've got another chick I've been with for however long. So like you have this thing that's kind of awkward, right? That you have to step over with her that women are not used to, and they're going to knee jerk at a lot. And then when you have a third, it's like, yeah, I can only see you on Thursday, by the way, because like Friday I see the other one, Saturday. So it just becomes this thing, and that's what I'm navigating right now is how to start. Like, how do you open it? Because obviously you have to have the runway to sell why what you're offering is better than the stupid shit she's been doing all her life. Because most women, typically, this is how they date. They date a guy, and either they leave him because he becomes a fucking loser, or he leaves her because he wants some other pussy, or she ends it because he stepped out or whatever. So, like, I'm not going to become a fucking loser, and I'm not going to leave her for another woman. So, like, I solve both problems, right? It's just better. You know, like, we have this woman at the beginning of the show, you know, with her face on a billboard, right? She will never entertain being one of multiple women. If she did, she might find a guy that will give her everything she wanted, right? But she's probably not going to make that sacrifice because the conditioning is so strong on her to think that something's wrong with this. And actually, for the last 300,000 years, this is how it's been. Like, this is how we evolved, right? So it's just, it's normal.
Do you ever pursue like the biblical avenue, like, the original sort of scripture, like women that follow that?
So as I've like looked inside almost to figure out, why do I believe what I believe? Like, why do I believe the things that I believe, my core beliefs, are the best, right? It keeps pulling me back to like OG Christianity, not this new weird gay shit, right?
Yeah.
But like the Old Testament. And I don't think there's actually that many contradictions in the New Testament to the Old Testament. I think it's like add-ons, not corrections, right? So if it's in the Old Testament, it's probably fine. But like modern Christians don't actually believe any, like in the Old Testament, there are prescriptions. Like I'm trying to remember what passage it was, but one passage is, if you have two wives and essentially one of them is a pain in the ass and you don't like her as much, even if your firstborn son is from her, he's still your firstborn son. You don't get to change and give the titles and lands to the firstborn son from your favorite wife. And like, it's prescriptions on how to handle fairly, like how to handle justly a marriage with multiple women. So like, clearly back in the day, men understood this shit, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I can't get over the institutionalization, like of marriage and of the church. And it's just like, I think we've taken this very like intelligent and virtuous ancient text and just like destroyed it over the past couple thousand years. And I can't get behind any of it. Like, the text makes sense, but the people who allegedly follow the text nowadays, like, the shit they believe to me is crazy when you compare it to the text.
Well, they pussified it completely, right? Like they've taken the original biblical scripture and they've made it all soft, inclusive, feminized, and you know they're convincing guys to look past women's shitty decisions. She's repented. She's been forgiven. So wife up that single mom with 3 kids from fucking 3 different fathers, whatever. But yeah, It's an interesting avenue, man. There's a book called Alpha God, and there's a few elements that I was doing some research on with my next book that's coming out next month. And historically, it's even covered in The Red Queen too. I just went through that book the last month as well. But most quote unquote high value men that had access to resources and influence and land and all that sort of stuff generally had a wife or two or three, and they would be the legitimate heirs, and they would have a harem of just bitches that were like breeders that they would just make a whole bunch of bastards with, just to spread more seed further and wider. They didn't get the throne or anything like that. They didn't get any of the the hand-me-downs, but it was just breeders of these women that would pump out hundreds, in some cases thousands of children for these top shelf guys.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with a guy in the Brotherhood on Sunday that's also kind of going down this route, and he was asking me about, like, will I hire nannies or something like that to help the women out, especially if I have 10 children?
No, they can work together on it.
Well, so what I essentially said, and I think this kind of ties back into the old ideas of concubines, like these ancient ideas, is if I had a nanny helping raise my family, why wouldn't I be getting her pregnant also? Why would she be going home and another guy getting her pregnant? Like, it makes no fucking sense, right? So I think, like, a lot of it's like that too. Like, you have another woman that's serving your purpose, like you're paying her, however you're taking care of her, housing her. Like, of course you're going to get her pregnant and not some other guy. Like, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah. Fair enough. I don't have anything else on the table, Moff. You got anything else for tonight?
Well, I'm glad we went down that rabbit hole. That's always fun, man. I can't wait to see what happens.
We'll see how this
I get a front row seat, man. God, I got a front row. I got front row seats to this thing. I got my popcorn out. I can't freaking wait. Yeah, I was thinking a lot about this recently because I think there's a lot of conflicting opinions, and I wanted to kind of go around. And I don't know, Spencer, are you young enough to be Gen Z? I think you are. I think you're a lone Gen Z.
I don't know where the
you can't be a
line
millennial. There's no way, because I think the last millennial was born in 95, 96. I have to look. I'm guessing
it depends who you
ask.
ask.
I think while you look that up, I think anybody, it's like, I think 25 is like the oldest Gen Z, or the 26, 27, something like that. You'd have to fact check me on that. But, I think when you ask people, there's generally two schools of thought.
Yes.
So you're Gen Z, cool. So I think there's tend to be two schools of thought. I'm interested to see what you guys think, or what line you guys sit on. Like, if you ask some people, they're like, Gen Z is completely one-shotted, right? They can't talk on the phone. They're completely stunted. They don't know how to deal with people. They don't know how to interact with folks. If they're the future, we're completely screwed. They don't know their phone number, and they're 12 years old. And then you talk to some people who think that Gen Z are going to be these like saviors that are going to come and rule the world one day. They see like the Barron Trumps of the world. They say that young men that are, especially young men, young Gen Z men, are the second coming. Like they're the Rogan bros, right? They're the Trump guys. They're the ones that are going to return us to our former glory and undo the mess that boomers and Gen Xers, unfortunately, sorry, Rich, and millennials like the rest of us have done. So I'm curious of what you guys think. If you guys think this is, or like, what have you seen? Like, Spencer, I mean, you obviously it's your peer group. Al, you were talking a little bit about how you got guys that come up to you. They're a little bit younger than me and TC, but just kind of curious on what you guys think about this generation in the future.
So for me, I might be in a bubble because I'm in a military base. So a lot of these kids are getting raised by type A parents. So they're getting taught how to like go do stuff and like work at an early age and all this stuff. So like they probably get the hunger. But yeah, I get approached, especially if I ride around in my Corvette or whatever. I get stopped by young kids all the time, like young guys age from 18 to 28. That are sitting there asking me, how do I get this? How do I do this? What am I doing? All this stuff, and asking me for advice because they're hungry. You can see it in their eyes. They're like, I want this. I want to be like this. I want to do this. And it might be because I'm in a bubble, because I'm at an Army base. I'm out here at Fort Hood. So maybe that's what it is. Because yeah, I'm telling you, like young kids, especially young guys, just coming up and asking me, "How do you do this? How do you do it? How'd you get there? What are you doing? Like, what do you do for a job? All this stuff."
I
So
get that a
what are
lot
you
too when I'm
saying?
doing rallies with the cars, like in front of the hotels. Usually,
Oh,
the
like no, I
bellboy,
just
like
drive.
someone will
Like
come
I
out and
just
just
drive
start
it on
asking
post.
questions like that. Gas stations too.
Yep, gas stations. Like I'll drive on post because I have a sales job all day, so I'm on post going up and down the Fort Hood, which is what largest army base in the U.S. Well, in the world, known army base. And so it's miles up and down, and they see it and they cop in my car and they ask, "What do you do?" And then they ask, what can I do to get there? And not just give them basic advice and stuff like that to get them pointing in the correct direction, like basic financial advice, and don't basically buy the wrong car with new credit and spend like 19% APR or something on a like a Hellcat or something. But like I'll give them basic advice, and I get stopped all the time. Like at least I don't know, probably for a while it was like once a day.
Spencer, you're about to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, are you saying that you think Gen Z is ambitious because of that?
I think they're very ambitious. I've seen because I don't get asked by millennials. Like, yeah, I don't get asked by millennials. Like dudes that are in their
Yeah,
30s, 40s. I'm not getting asked by
yeah, yeah.
them.
Okay,
I'm
that's where
getting
I
asked
wanted to
by
get into. I think that's.
yeah.
I don't think that's a generation thing. I don't think it's because this generation's more ambitious than the last. I think it's just the age range at the moment. Like if you compared Gen Z now to millennials when they were also the same age range, like you probably would see that they're ambitious because they're in that age range of, oh, I need to go like start doing things. I need to build up my life. Like I need to build up my career. But like when someone's in their 30s, 40s, a lot of people, like most people in that age range are like, I've already figured out what I'm doing. And they're just like
Well,
floating for the rest of their life.
and another big thing is, right? So, like, even when I was growing up as a kid, because I was ambitious, but I was also grew up on a military base. So I was asking people how they did things, how they got there, kind of thing. And I was hungry. My dad had me working at the age of 11. So that was a big help. When I made my first dollar, that's when I became hungry. But like the boomers used to say that about the millennials, like, oh, they're lazy, good for nothing, don't do nothing, and if you, but then like most people say the boomers ruined the U.S. economy. So it's like I think it's just that whole thing. It's like, oh, y'all are weaker than the next generation, which always passes down to the next generation. So.
It, I think it probably gets said, yeah, at every generation. It's just like
Yeah.
same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it was like was it most of the tech billionaire companies now or what were created by like millennials, and then I'm pretty sure when these kids hit in their mid 30s they're going to reach their stride
I
40s
mean,
and
yeah,
blow up
probably
from there.
because at the time that the internet was booming, like growing at insane rates, that was the age range that was making businesses at the time. And you're probably going to see the same thing now with AI. There's probably going to be a lot of like Gen Z that make AI businesses right now, and in 10, 20 years you see the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, kids are not meant to be on social media. Kids are not meant to be in this world that's only consumed by screens. Like, when you have a functioning or a developing brain, like, one of the worst things you can do is hand that child, especially women, the internet, right? And have the internet on the palm of their hand. And it's just, I didn't have my first cell phone until I was 13, and I didn't have a phone that had internet access to it until I was already in college. So, I mean, there's obviously a huge difference between handing a college kid a phone with the internet and handing a 6-year-old a phone with the internet on it. So, I mean, I don't personally have kids myself, but I know a couple of you guys do here. But, I don't know. I think it's a little bit reductive just to say, oh, well, every generation thinks that the next generation fucking sucks. When in reality, like, there are definite differences between the generations. And like, I was the last generation, millennials are the last generation to grow up without the internet. Like, I still remember using a Walkman. I still remember like using a CD player or a disc changer in a car. Like, I didn't have, like, when the iPod came out, everybody was like, oh my, holy shit. And now they're obsolete. Everything's on your phone. So I don't know. I mean, I definitely think there are things at play that are different generation to generation. But my question more so is like everybody, like I'm just curious on which school of thought you guys are you like, if you had to pick one, is Gen Z the savior generation, or are they just leading us further down the rabbit hole of human destruction? Like, where are we in the fourth turning, essentially?
Yeah, I'd like to say this. So the vast majority of the youth today are soft, pussified, weak males. You know, you do get the higher testosterone males that'll ask you the questions like, hey, you know, what did you do to get this car? Right? Because they have the ambition. You got high T, you got ambition, you want to chase shit. That's natural. But it's unsurprising to hear that on a military base because you're conditioned, you're forced to do hard things. But I mean, like the vast majority of guys out there today, they're just fucking pussies. You know, they can't bench 3 plates, they can't fight, they can't throw hands, they don't know how to make money, they work menial dead-end jobs that are going nowhere. They're products of single parent households, which are at biblical levels that never existed, you know, in my childhood. Like, you know, when I was in school, we didn't have any alphabet soup people. We didn't even have alphabets. We didn't have rainbow flags. We had rainbows, but they were these little rainbows they put on the back of the 1970 Corvettes when they were actually cool before the homosexual crowd sort of like hijacked them and made it their own thing, right? But none of that stuff existed. I didn't even know a single gay person until I was in my 30s, maybe. I didn't really come across very many. But now when they survey the youth,
it's like 1 in 5.
Like 25%, or
yeah,
like it's in the 20% identify with the alphabet soup crowd, right? And they're not, because, you know, historically less than 4 or 5% of the population is homosexual. That's just the way that it's always been. It's not like, you know, these biblical levels are starting to pop. I mean, there are certain inputs that are softening the Western male. You could read Dr. Anthony Jay's book, Estrogeneration. He talks about all the ways that environmental estrogens are seeping their way into your, into your body, into your children's bodies, and softening and weakening the Western male. But I'm not optimistic that there is a stronger generation of younger men coming up that are going to be able to fix shit. I'm just not. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays that are very successful guys. They're absolute weapons in their craft, but they're pussies. You know, their wives have them wrapped around their baby finger. If the zombie apocalypse came or something, you know, closely resembling some kind of shit hitting the fan type of event, they would be absolutely useless. They might be able to, bodge together a fucking radio with a shoelace and some fucking old batteries or something like that. But they're absolutely useless in any kind of environment where there's conflict, where there's fortitude, you know, that's needed. They've injected all kinds of poisons in everybody's body. Stand on your dot, wear your mask, comply with that for years, right? So I just don't see the same level of masculinity that I saw when I was a young man in the young men today. There are some guys that are waking up. I see them in the gym. I see them at the dojo. I see them at the banyas. I see them in some degree, you know, driving fast cars on rallies and stuff like that. But I also hear guys go happy wife, happy life. That'll wife up a single mom with a bunch of kids in tow from her prior relationships that are multimillionaires driving Lamborghinis and McLarens, right? Yeah, I see a general softening is what I see. So I'm not that optimistic that we're building a tribe of warriors out there nationally. I don't think they want it. They don't want disagreeable men. They want agreeable men that will stand on their dots and comply and vote for fucking big government and huge taxes and free shit. No freedom, but free shit. That's what they want, right? You know, you get these furries walking around. Dude, I went to a buddy of mine once said, he goes, hey, you know, me and Paulie, you know, we're going to go for a flight. You know, these guys had their own planes. And we ended up in, I think, Pittsburgh. You know, we flew down from Toronto into Pittsburgh. And we ended up in this like furry conference. I think, Moff, you know, you ran into a situation like that when you were in San Diego with the last thing. It's like these furry people walking around thinking that they're dogs or cats. And like, We never. If we saw kids like that when I was in my teens or my 20s, we would beat the shit out of them. We would beat them with their fucking stupid costumes, right? But today they have conferences with, like in the thousands. TC is laughing because I think he was involved in that crowd at some point, wasn't he?
Man, I can't say what I'm thinking on YouTube.
He used to go around banging these furry chicks, I bet.
Oh hell no, no, just
Pimp
just some of the. Yeah, I mean those. Not. I don't know about the furry conventions. Like, I'm sure those things smell like a motherfucker walking through.
Probably smells like cat litter, man. I'm glad I didn't go
walking through the hotel. I mean, have you seen those suits? Right, like a man. And so if you've seen the suits, and then you've seen the types of people that are in them, imagine the smell, man. Holy fuck!
Cat litter and fermented cheese.
Thanks for that, Basil.
Appreciate that.
Man, but I mean, like, we used to raise a like, I'm going to pull up a video while you guys sort of chop it up. But there's some old like school videos in black and white of students like going through phys ed. And, today you see kids going through phys ed and they got like, the boys have tits. They're shaped like a pear. They can't do like 3 push-ups. Anyway.
Okay.
I agree with that
Who
on
else?
I agree with that on a general scale, like large scale. I think any of us in here are probably in a bubble, though, when we think about anyone who we interact with on a day-to-day basis, anyone who we know in person and actually talk to, we select for the top.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm in my mid-40s. When I was in school, there were no trophies for no reason. And there's a lot more heavy-handed liberalism than there used to be. And that does, in my opinion, lend itself to what we would call weakness in this room.
These are like teenage boys
That's
from
crazy,
the
dude.
60s, right?
I don't know.
That's like
Another
the
one looked
60s.
like he was 50.
You would never see this today.
Yeah, I'm from
You'd
that
never
city.
see this shit,
I grew up in that city. That was in Riverside,
But I mean,
California.
like every teenage boy had the physical capacity to do all of this stuff practically, right?
Yeah,
We didn't have any
growing up in football. We had
Testosterone, man.
Yeah.
Testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years we've seen what essentially has been like an increasing radicalization of young men on the right. And I think that's facilitating them essentially unplugging. Now, a lot of them, and like a lot of, kind of, there's different spaces and groups that these guys kind of make their way into. And not all of them, think about and care about fitness and lethality. There's a lot of them that are politically adjacent, and a lot of them are still like fucking at home in their parents' basement playing video games, even though they know like that the world, all the bullshit going on in the world. But like, I think in the last 5 or 10 years that like the disenfranchisement leading to radicalization of young men, especially in the West, is increasing. And I think that's a good thing. Like, it gives me hope, right?
Like in the Chinese culture today, they've banned what they call sissy boys from schools, from media, from music, from popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, I mean, like here's one here right now.
Sissy boy, they call him soft meat over there too.
Yeah. Here, I'll put this one up on the screen because this is just an example of teen boys doing their thing in China. But China's laughing at the West, dude. Like the stuff that they do with their kids. There's absolutely no weakness permitted. Like that is, I don't even know how big that is. A stadium, 2 stadiums.
Well, they're one culture over there, though. They're not a melting pot.
But I mean, like here, if you don't use somebody's pronouns, they have a fucking meltdown.
Yeah, I think me, like people that are in their 30s right now, whatever the fuck generation that is, like me and Moff, I think we had the issue that we were raised by like such soft, agreeable men that we became like kind of these giga tolerant men, right? Where it's like nothing pissed us off. And like generally the state of the nation and the state of the economy and, the state of what you have access to as far as, figuring out that the media is lying to you nowadays and all the stuff that we've kind of learned, more recently has been more mainstream with COVID and all this stuff. I think we kind of like laid down, right, and just kind of like went with this shit. But I think the young men nowadays, I think it is a little bit different. Like I look back to when I was in my 20s, and it was much more like we kind of knew we were being assholes, and we kind of knew, oh yeah, that's kind of racist or homophobic or whatever. But I think the young men nowadays are more so like, I don't give a fuck because life sucks, right? Like, when we were doing it, you could go get a 4-year degree and then go have a job lined up for you, right? And it was kind of normal. And now, like, the kids are in crippling debt. They're stuck living with their parents. They have no money. All the women are like with their ass out on Instagram on some dude's yacht. So I think it's a little different, and it's radicalizing the young men. And I think that's a good thing. Like, it's going to help us, hopefully move in the right direction and stop being so weird and gay and retarded.
It's wild too, because you get a lot of women that complain about the state of men. I was forwarded this TikTok clip, and I was looking at this gal, and she was reasonably attractive, and she's one of these fitness girls. She's putting on her makeup. She's doing one of these like social media posts where she's putting on her makeup and shit. And she's telling a story about this guy that she was going to date, and he wanted to go and play mini golf, and she was upset that it was a low effort date, 1, and 2. That he didn't offer to pick her up for the date. So she did a blow off, like, need a rain check for this. And, he circled back and asked her out again. And then she gave him this big, long story about how it was low effort and she was expecting dinner and all this sort of stuff and something a little more gentlemanly like. And I'm like, who is this chick? So I click on the bio, and of course there's an OnlyFans there. And it's like, what kind of effort do you expect a guy to make if you're a fucking virtual prostitute? You're an online whore selling pictures of your butthole, behind a paywall, and your entire social media is just you flaunting skin everywhere, right? I mean, I don't blame guys for not putting in effort. If anything, they should put in less effort and follow what's his name, Jay Bear's model, and just be like, yeah, just come over. That's it. And they don't want to come over, then don't even bother with them. Because, I mean, you treat them as what they're worth. I mean, if you're going to be an online prostitute, then just get treated that way. I don't blame these guys.
Well, and a lot of times they're full on prostitutes, not just with pictures.
Yeah. And they want to be treated like a lady. Like, they want to be taken out on date and picked up and have dinner bought for them. It's like, you're a whore selling pictures of your fucking butt for $4.99.
The mini golf was like 24 months, man, of her membership.
That's a whole year membership, man. Right there.
2 years, man. She should be happy.
You got a whole year's membership right there. He took you out a whole year's membership. Oh man, that's crazy. That's something I didn't see too. Like, when I was growing up, I didn't see fat kids. It was like you can count on your hand.
There's like one fat kid, and everybody made fun of him until he lost the weight.
And a lot of times they were either like offensive lineman or defensive lineman on the football team. Mm-hmm. So it was like, so they were putting it to use. It's not like, it's not like they were, Nowadays, it's like you can probably count on like one hand how many kids aren't overweight.
There you go. Anyway, that was the hopeful or hopeless bet, Moth, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopeful for the guys in this community. I see guys buckling down, doing the work and getting the results. And, there's people that just don't. They just sit on the sidelines. They watch while others play the game. They cheer their favorite team on, which is fine. I mean, there's people that watch games. There's people that play games. I think it's better to play the game than watch somebody else play the game. Anyway, we got anything else before we wrap?
The only thing that I have coming up, I mean, this is more like a adjacent thing, but this Friday, October 10th, I'm going to share my screen real quick. If you guys are already in tune with this, or if you guys are fight fans, or you guys are into MMA, this guy here on the left, Will Rentz, this is my personal coach. The Unplugged Brotherhood sponsors him as a fighter. He's going to be fighting. This is an old picture, but he's fighting the same guy October 10th. So if you go live on UFC Fight Pass, the CFFC, the Cage Fury Fighting Championships, he's going for his 5th win in 6 fights looking to get 6-2 and hopefully get a UFC call, whether that's the Ultimate Fighter or the Contender Series after that. So he's finished every single fight by TKO or knockout. So the Brotherhood will be there in attendance. We will have a couple ringside tables cheering our guy on, and we wish him the best of luck. So if you guys want to see some high flying MMA action, you can sign up for UFC Fight Pass. I think they can do a free trial, but Iron Will Rents is our guy, and the Brotherhood supports him and roots him on, and he's looking to get another win. So we're excited for him.
Awesome. And I'm going to be doing, my Wednesday show. I'm slowly going through the material on my next book, which launches early November. Going through some green flags for you guys. So tune in Wednesday at noon. Is there a ladies' night scheduled for tomorrow?
We'll have one, as far as I know. Spence?
Yeah, we had some of the girls sort of bail on you guys last week. So that happens from time to time.
Yeah, they've been rough lately.
We'll be back tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you real soon. Have an awesome night. Peace out. All right, guys. If you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at RichCooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit TotalDebtFreedom.ca and hit Get a Free Quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.